Welcome to TV Trash. You know, a bad TV show is one thing. If you've realized a whole series is complete crap, you can stop watching and be done with it. What's really frustrating is when one of your favorite shows gets derailed by a whole series of episodes and storylines that make little sense and has the characters acting in ways that makes you wonder what the writer started smoking. Now, I've already covered the 6th season of Buffy, but that wasn't the only show to have a bad storyline or season, so let's delve even further. Debate and discussion are always welcome. Here are my picks for the 10 worst TV storylines. Number 10, Speedy vs. Daffy. This one's low on the list because it admittedly isn't a storyline so much as a series of shorts. The Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies in the 1960s weren't made directly by Warner Brothers, but by Fritz Freeling and David DePatty's independent studio, and many consider those shorts as the worst. But what they point to most was having Daffy Duck replace Sylvester as Speedy Gonzalez's foe. So why would a duck chase a mouse around? Now, I never thought these shorts were that horrible, and I think that's because, love him or hate him, Daffy's an entertaining foil. But they admittedly just seemed out of place, and so they make the cut on our list. Number 9, the WWE Invasion. Professional wrestling is primarily a television program, and the storylines are what drive it. In 2001, Vince McMahon bought up WCW and began adding it to his own storylines. It was declared that his son Shane owned WCW, who formed an alliance with ECW to take down his father's company. And who was the ECW owner that Shane partnered with? His sister Stephanie. Yeah. Then they had fan favorite Stone Cold Steve Austin join the alliance, which made little sense given that Austin was fired by WCW years ago. The invasion angle dragged on for months and ratings went down with it, finally ending at Survivor Series with a 5-on-5 match where the Alliance team had mostly WWE stars. Now, admittedly, McMahon's exclusive deal with Viacom at the time prevented him from taking this story where he wanted to, but many fans still see the invasion as great potential that turned into disappointment. Number 8, Serena and Darian's breakup on Sailor Moon. Many fans disliked the R season for introducing Serena's future daughter Rini, but what was really frustrating was how Darian broke up with Serena at the start of that story arc. He'd been having nightmares that Serena would be in grave danger if he was with her. Yeah, he left her because of bad dreams. Fans still use that storyline to paint Darian in a negative light and justify shipping Serena with someone else in their fanfics. The constant battle of Serena whining for Darian to come back and him turning a cold shoulder was just so annoying. It was eventually revealed that it was Darian's future self sending him those dreams in order to test both his and her love for each other. It didn't make much sense in context either. The ending of the season was pretty epic, but it was still a drain to get there. Number 7, Mork and Mindy's marriage. I could have picked any of the many instances where the longtime friends finally hook up and ruin the show, but this one was the topper for me. Although it wasn't the marriage itself so much as adding Jonathan Winters as their half-alien, backwards-aging son Mirth. Suddenly, the show turned from one of Mork's escapades as an alien on Earth to a quirky family sitcom, and it just wasn't the same. For everyone who wanted this cross-galactic duo to get together, it became a classic case of be careful what you wish for. Number 6, Eric and Kelso's replacement on that 70s show. Remember when Ron Howard left Happy Days and how lame the show was after that? What if Henry Winkler had left at the same time? Would there be any reason to continue the show? That's what happened here. Topher Grace left that 70s show after 7 years with his character Eric going to study abroad. That might have been bad enough, but Ashton Kutcher then left 5 episodes into the next year. Rather than create a way to end the show right then, the producers brought in Josh Myers to play the new guy Randy and replace both characters.
Yay, Randy. No, Bull Randy, yay face!
The fans reacted to him about like you'd think. They were already hacked off by Donna's hair color change, so you can imagine what happened when she started dating Randy. They eventually broke up near the end, but the damage was done and the show was on its way out. Number 5. Billy and her sister from Charmed. Looking back, I admit this show didn't have a ton of good stories. I almost put how they derailed Cole and Phoebe on this list, but the final season was the worst. The previous year ended with the sisters faking their deaths in order to live normal lives, but the show got picked up for one more year, so they eventually had to change back. But they also brought in Kaylee Cuoco to play a super witch named Billy. She was whiny, bratty, and even better than the Charmed ones. The story became about finding her lost sister Christy. Leo got frozen away, and once they found Christy, she turns out to be working for the evil triad and convinces Billy and the entire magical world that the sisters were evil, ignoring all the times they'd saved their asses. Paige and Phoebe got killed, the others had to do a whole mess of time travel to save them, and Billy had to kill her sister. All in all, a final season that most fans wish they could make disappear with a wave of their hands. Number 4. Zena's child Eve. The 4th season of Zena ended with Zena and Gabrielle getting crucified, only to find each other's reincarnated souls in the present day. It seemed like a fair ending. Then they had to come back to life when the show was picked up for another year, but what complicated things was when executive producer Rob Tapert knocked up his wife, who was also the star of the show. So they had to create a story where Zena immaculately conceived through the purified soul of Callisto or something. Then it was declared that the child would bring forth the end of the Greek gods. At first, it looked like this would be a self-fulfilling prophecy story where the gods would destroy each other. But it turned out that her daughter's presence gave Zena the power to kill the gods, and she mowed right through them all. For a season that involved reincarnation, a war with the gods, and even a time skip to the future, the ending was truly disappointing compared to what it could have been. Number 3. All Just a Dream from Dallas. The 8th season ended with Bobby Ewing dying in a car wreck because Patrick Duffy wanted to pursue other ventures. A year later, he was coaxed into returning, but how could they possibly bring his character back to life? His fiancée Pam only dreamed his death, and the entire year that followed it. If Who Shot JR put this primetime soap opera on the map, this was when it jumped the shark. Why would they eliminate an entire season of stories? Well, producer Leonard Katzman had also left and returned to the show in the same time span. Katzman was a huge chauvinist, and he didn't like how the women had been given stronger roles in his absence, so he just made it so none of it ever happened. Yes, wipe an entire season out of existence because you believe women can't be strong characters. Hey Katzman, Sarah Michelle Gellar on line 1! Number 2, Scully's pregnancy on the X-Files. Another baby, another show that went on too long. Chris Carter meant for the X-Files to definitely end after season 7, but Fox renewed it anyway, and the writers had to start pulling stories out of their rears. That season ended with Mulder getting abducted and Scully discovering she was pregnant, even though she'd been declared barren years ago. So how did she conceive? We never found out. There was in-canon suspicion that the baby was alien, but ultimately all we found out was that Mulder was the father. Scully did have to give up the child the next year because it did have some special powers, but by then most viewers had turned away and the show met its uneventful end. But my number 1 storyline can be summed up in 3 words. Ross and Rachel. I really liked Friends, but there are times when I wonder why. A lot of their jokes just reinforce negative stereotypes of men and women, which I hate.
Are men ever nice to strange women for no reason?
No, only for sex.
Thank you.
But what was really frustrating was how many seasons were derailed by, are Ross and Rachel getting together again? That's why it tops this list, because it lasted the entire series. Let's recap, shall we? Ross has a crush on Rachel in season 1. Rachel discovers it at the end, but now Ross has found someone else. They eventually get together, only to break up because of the we were on a break issue. They get back together, break up again, she ruins his marriage, they get married while drunk, they have a baby together. If I wanted a soap opera relationship, I'd watch All My Children! I think a lot of people were more relieved than elated when they finally hooked up for good in the finale. It was an end to a memorable series, but also an end to one of TV's worst storylines. And so, there are my picks for the worst storylines. It does make me wonder, though, if there's possibly a popular series or two that's nothing but bad storylines. I'm not gonna touch that. See you next time on TV Trash. 'Cause you're there for me too.